Hey everybody, Rob Maurer here, and today we are going to be talking about a couple of Elon Musk meetings. We've got one with South Korea and one with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. We'll also talk a little bit about Tesla stock. We've got some new Cybertruck photos and a few other items as well. So starting off with the stock, Tesla down 4.3% today to close at $153.75. Tough day, obviously, with the NASDAQ up 0.5%. We'll talk about a few things here, but I think just in general, we're still in the window where any stock movement can still be tied back to earnings. Of course, we got the 10Q earlier this week, so still probably some reaction there, but we did see also a downgrade from Jefferies today. They previously had a $230 price target on the stock. That has now been reduced to $185 per share for their target, and they reduced their rating from buy to hold. In their note, they said that however fascinating the investment case remains, relative price aggression is not supportive of high multiple investment case while this is unfolding. And they also said with multiple technical edges from software to batteries and manufacturing productivity, Tesla clearly overperforms on engineering but has fallen behind in building skills in marketing and product planning. So a little bit short-sighted, I think, on those last couple of comments. They seem to be poking at Tesla for not advertising, which is just one subset of marketing. I think other than that, Tesla does a really great job at marketing, product planning. Again, Tesla has some of the best-selling products in the world at more expensive prices than their competition. So it does seem a little bit short-sighted and can obviously change as Tesla does release new products, which of course we are just a mere months away now from the Cybertruck coming out. So nonetheless, those were the comments from Jefferies today. Could have impacted the stock a little bit. There's also been some new conversation about Tesla's inventory levels. Those have continued to rise a little bit, not all that significantly though. If we look at the Model 3 and the Model Y here for US inventory listed, it's kind of flatlined for the last couple of weeks. S and X, a little bit of an increase there, but we did see price increases, of course, recently, and it did tick down a little bit today. So hopefully inventory not too crazy. Just in general, a couple of comments on this. This is not necessarily reflective of Tesla's entire inventory. So what we're looking at with these inventory positions isn't necessarily just these 3,000 vehicles or so, because obviously that's less than a day of production, less than half a day of production for Tesla. So it's insignificant in terms of the total number of vehicles. But we have to consider that this may not be capturing all of Tesla's inventory, so I think the relative changes in inventory are probably a little bit more informative. So when we see those increases, that is what kind of causes concern that, maybe there's going to be another price change or price cut coming up. So it is important to look at, but again, not necessarily the sole arbiter of what is going to happen with prices going forward, as we just saw from the S and the X with the price increases there. Now, the other thing that I think may have been affecting Tesla stock a little bit today, and just broader renewable stocks in general, Enphase did report earnings yesterday, and they dropped significantly. They were down, the stock was down 25% today for Enphase. This has been a stock that had sort of been on a run year to date, definitely giving a lot of that back up. But they give a really low sales forecast for the next quarter. They talked a lot about how higher borrowing costs are hurting solar companies in general, just due to financing rates. In their conference call, they talked about interest rates, I think 10 different times, talking about how the economics of loan financing has worsened due to rising interest rates, saying their installers in general are navigating three key challenges. First, the rapid increase in interest rates over the last year. Second, switching from low APR to low APR with high dealer fees to selling market rate loans with low dealer fees. And third, delay payments from the loan originators or reduction of M1 payments. They continue to go on throughout the call and mention interest rates as being a problem continually, saying interest rates are high. That's the first thing. Basically, it's getting more difficult to sell solar with loans, getting more difficult to sell. And a couple more times for good measure, said, of course, as long as interest rates are so high, we're not saying that the numbers are going to return back to where they were. The demand will unleash only when interest rates are back to normal. So obviously, we've heard kind of the same rhetoric from Elon, from Tesla for quite some time. Now it is popping up in other places too. Obviously, the solar industry, as we know from Solar City, way back in the day, can be highly sensitive to changes like this. Automotive industry, certainly in that same sort of realm. So I think positive to hear some similar comments to what we've been hearing from Tesla in other areas to show that this is affecting other companies more broadly, even though we don't necessarily feel all the impact of that yet. Again, most of the decline in the stock for Enphase was based on their guidance, their forward-looking assessment, rather than their actual Q1 earnings in this case, which actually came in ahead of expectations. So it's more of a forward-looking thing there for Enphase. And, solar stocks, I think most of them were down around 10% in sympathy with Enphase today. And I think Tesla probably catching a bit of that as well. All right, getting into a couple of main stories for today, we do have a couple of meetings from Elon Musk. First is with the South Korean president, who is in the United States, taking various meetings. Apparently, he did meet with Elon Musk today at Elon's request, and they discussed a possible gigafactory in South Korea. So the president of South Korea said that should Tesla decide to invest, we will provide active support in terms of location, workforce, and taxes. So although this was at Elon's request, looks like South Korea doing a little bit of pitching there to Elon to try to solicit a little bit of an investment in South Korea, potentially something as significant as a gigafactory. They did also talk about SpaceX and possible collaborations there. In general, the South Korea industry for the automotive industry isn't massive. It looks like the annual volume there is probably around 1.5 million vehicles per year. So for Tesla, even if they took a significant market share in that market, it's not going to fully support a gigafactory. That would have to be a significant export factory as well. And when we look at sort of geographically, it is, of course, very close to Shanghai. So I'm not sure if it completely makes sense for that to be, the next location for a Tesla factory. But of course, there is a significant battery industry, electronics industries in South Korea. So kind of have that leverage on one hand and a little bit smaller market and geographical proximity to Shanghai on the other hand. So we'll see. Obviously, it's good for Elon to have these conversations and kind of gauge offers. It also makes, other countries that are sort of competing for a possible factory from Tesla, maybe have to step up sort of their offers to an extent as well. Now, Elon was busy with meetings today. The other meeting he had was at the Senate. So some reporting here of Elon heading in there. And it looked like this meeting was with Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, and it sounded like they talked for about an hour. After leaving, apparently Musk said that the meeting was good. They talked about the future, AI, and the economy. So this comes after about a week ago, maybe 10 days or so, a couple weeks ago, I guess. Chuck Schumer had announced that he was launching some groundwork for regulation on AI and was seeking to meet with experts to discuss possible regulations in this area. Elon replied to that on Twitter saying that was good news. Of course, he's argued for AI regulation for, almost a decade now, I would say, maybe even longer than that. So good to see Elon kind of, making his way out there, having this opportunity to provide some feedback in those areas and talking about some other things as well. After the meeting, Schumer said that, quote, "We had a very good meeting. We talked about Buffalo. Tesla has a large plant in Buffalo, and we talked about AI," end quote. So hopefully some good, progress there in terms of some of those things. And good to see that Schumer also mentioning that there was some Tesla discussion involved as well. All right, next we've got a couple of new photos of the Cybertruck testing in Fremont. So this is on Reddit from AJSNS. So, we've seen many of these now. I don't think we need to spend too much time analyzing these photos, but just kind of wanted to bring those to people's attention in case they have not had a chance to see those yet. So we can see the new photos here. No new details that I notice. You've got the wipers on there. We've got kind of the same side view mirrors. Those have been a couple of features that have seemed to change a little bit from sighting to sighting. But as far as I can tell, no major changes in this iteration. Next, just wanted to make a quick correction on something that we had talked about yesterday. So we had talked about Tesla's ranking in terms of desirability of employment from engineering students. And Tesla ranked number 2 after SpaceX. I talked about how this was from the Universum study that was published last year. And I noted that the US study was published in August and the worldwide study was published in January last year. I misread the date, so yeah, silly American thing here. But this was actually November 1st for the global study that they had published. So the timeline for that would be a little bit closer into current day. But again, the US study, which Tesla referenced, was still August. So whenever the polling for that took place would have been obviously prior to August last year. But did want to make that quick correction. Apologies for the error on that. And then last couple of things, we do have some news here from Honda. Just wanted to correct some reporting. There was some reporting that Honda had raised their EV production targets today. They did publish some updates on their business, but there was no change in their guidance for EV production. This is, let's get down here. They guided for 2030 EV production of 2 million vehicles, 2 million EVs annually. And that is the same as their guidance last year. So we can see April 11th here from last year, 2022, and we see that same 2 million unit annual production number. So just wanted to clear that up, that there was no increase there from Honda, although they did talk about their plans. And their COO actually talked about some of the competition that they were seeing, I believe, out of the Shanghai Auto Show, saying that, quote, "We were overwhelmed by the Chinese. They are ahead of us, even more than expected," end quote. So we've obviously talked about this. Some of Tesla's biggest competitors, probably biggest competitors in China, and now Honda starting to see that and open up about that as well. So kind of interesting to see that. And then also on China, to wrap it up today, some comments that we didn't get to yesterday, but BYD did comment on their opinions on autonomous driving, saying that, quote, "We think self-driving tech that's fully separated from humans is very, very far away and basically impossible." Continuing to say, quote, "There may be many industries and businesses that invest a lot of money on this tech, and after investing for many years, it will prove it leads nowhere," end quote. So it's interesting, we always talk about BYD being potentially Tesla's biggest competitor on the electric vehicle side, but if they're not going to heavily and aggressively pursue autonomous driving, which from these comments, it doesn't sound like they have sort of that same intent or same desire that Tesla would, then even if they've got that lead in EVs, maybe they fall a little bit behind on some of the autonomous driving development, which, yeah, could take a long time. We have no certainty that that is going to be achieved, but I think looking at the progress from Tesla, and then even companies like Waymo and Cruise, although they're using different methodologies that have problems with scaling, I think there's a lot of proof of concept being laid, groundwork being laid right now, that I think would strongly refute their point of view on this. So obviously we'll see, but hopefully that means that Tesla can have a pretty significant lead there as they continue to progress that. And although it's often presented as sort of an all or nothing situation, I'm not sure that, that's how it's going to play out in the interim. There might be, and I think we've already seen that, where FSD, Autopilot today are already adding a lot of value to the actual utilization of Tesla's vehicles, the value that customers see in those already. So not that BYD is not working on any of that, obviously, but interesting to see their perspective on level 4, level 5 type of stuff. All right, that is it for today then. So as always, thank you for listening. Make sure you're subscribed and signed up for notifications. You can also find me on Twitter at Tesla Podcast, and we'll see you tomorrow for the Thursday, April 27th episode of Tesla Daily. Thank you.